Live up.
Okay, it is 3 o'clock and we will start the WSC meeting. We have
We have a quorum.
yeah, we do, 3 of us.
And just so everyone's aware, we do have Jim, Amy, and Lori online.
Oh, good.
Hello, all.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Can they be loud? Jeff, I'm glad you're here. You'll let us know if you have a public issue.
I will.
Okay.
I have air to speak.
You do. I'm like, what? Okay,
Pretty
All right.
good after last night.
yeah.
It's nice to have them up.
Jacob's sent out the minutes today, but you have them since 2 days after the meeting because they are essentially the same as what I sent you, a week and a half ago. So does anyone want to move approval?
I move it.
Thank you.
A second.
All in favor?
I.
All opposed? Okay. Actually, we have 4 members here.
Yeah.
I guess Doug isn't going to be here. Okay, we have, as you know, we have the Watershed Advisory Committee too. That's there we go. Let's move back from that. Meeting there as a follow-up. Jacob has spoken to the consultants, and we are clear on what the next meeting will look like. Jacob will lead them, and we have a clear picture between he and the consulting team about how that will emerge the next meeting. What I felt good about are many things, but that we had 177 surveys returned, and we had 90 people at the public meeting. There is really no question about the community's caring about the watershed, and I think we start ahead of the game there. And a lot of those people from the survey, they know a lot about the lake. With just their comments, you can see that they're concerned about invasive species and ditching and things you might not find from a public who hasn't been engaged. So I think we're in good shape there. The update to the survey is that Bill is reviewing my paltry notes about the themes from that survey. And he's going to get back to me, and hopefully we'll use it to get back to the public and say, here's the survey, here's what we heard. The survey will also, the summation will also inform the work going forward. So we'll have a sense of, we heard you, we're getting back to you, here's what you said. If we didn't capture it right, get back to us. So we'll have I think that will resonate with people who have been involved. Any other thoughts though about WAC or the survey?
Oh, well, that's a great idea about summary. We're going to submit that to the newspaper and have them publish an article. I think that would be very helpful.
So, I'm blanking on her name, but she said as soon as we had something, she would start doing monthly monthly stories. Jim, do you think once we get that survey sort of summary ready that she would be willing to do an update in the paper? I think she was pretty open to it. Yes.
I'm sorry, would I do an update for, I'm not understanding.
I'm sorry, that we're gonna do a summary of the survey we sent out that we received back. And Carrie is asking if we should put sort of that summary in the paper as an update. And I think you spoke to her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Well, no, I haven't spoken with her, I've traded emails,
okay,
Darla, right?
Darla, yes. All right,
Yeah, I think, absolutely, I think that's really important, there's 90-some people being there. Those people want to read about, what cases of the meeting they attended, so yeah, it'd be great. Actually, it's a article.
And I think she'd be very open to it. She's always looking for information about what's going on in the environmental world practice. So that's great.
Right, 100%. And I am doing, in about 2 weeks, I think I'm doing, I haven't done yet, a single lane association update that she requested for, I don't know, November 23rd on that, so. But yeah, but she would be very interested.
Okay, good. Then we'll work on that as soon as we have sort of a,
Yeah.
something committee agrees on.
Jim? What's the temperature down there
Yeah.
today? What's the temperature down there today?
See, it's too hot.
It's just, it's too hot here too. Okay, well, we're missing you, Jim. We're missing you. Okay, WSC rep to WQCC. I sent a note out. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Bonnie is interested in going to WQCC, and of course, Bill goes because of the link, well, because he's interested, but also the link to the Agriculture Committee by both of them. Any issues with that? Hearing none, we'll go with that. And then I spoke with Amy, who I think is on the call, about the WSC team member from UCA. Amy was, I can't remember her name. Was she to be here today?
Yeah, Victoria was, booked in today, but they had last minute. So she's in the culvert right now, but Victoria will join us. Normally, there's just a chance of, the S word coming,
Yeah.
and so they want to do the last bit of culvert they possibly could before that happens.
Okay.
But for now on, Victoria will be joining us every time we.
I, just so the committee knows, this is an important item. I spoke with Amy, and expressed our desire to have, a seasoned member from, OCCA here, and requested that we have the interim leader because of the path we've traveled so far is complex, and making sure that we've got somebody who can make a decision, at this table. Amy said she would speak with, sort of the powers that be as they transition to a new leader to see if that's possible. Amy, do you have a sense of when you might be able to let us know about that?
Yes, our next board meeting is next Thursday, so at our next WSC meeting, I should be able to approve information.
Amy, is that a reasonable request in your view?
I think, for right now, Christina, I think it is reasonable. We just have a lot of pieces that need to be organized, who's taking on the club. And we'll make sure that you guys are not left stranded, no matter how we make it happen.
Okay,
And we have Victoria join you and, continue to join you,
okay,
we'll have, you know, officially with DJ. However it is, I will not, all the great work with the committee is done, I'm not going to step away now, let it be a kind of fall apart. So don't judge it on that one.
okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't being unreasonable. Bonnie,
Amy, I've looked at your list of board members, and you have some people who've spent a lot of time and held other environmental leadership positions in the county. And so if you do go through an extended interim period, possibly would you consider one of the board members, be president of your board or
Our board meeting.
okay,
Who would be take on that work and join in. We do have very spectacular, biologists and folks on the quick step in. As I said, I still like Victoria to be part of it, but she would learn.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I have no problem asking the board member, and that's part of our discussion. So,
yes, and I
but thank you.
okay. I want to confirm that we would like to have Victoria here as well. She seems very engaged, and that would be helpful to us.
So Amy, could you send us Victoria's email? I only have hers from the Sunnyonta days. And also, should we keep using director at OCCA email? Does that get passed on to whoever takes over, or should we start using something else?
Great question, Kyoto. So her email is water@OCCA, or just like Little used to be, so she's taking over that whole email. And Rector will still be used absolutely to get a hold of where is the director position here. I know it's a travel for all of your recipients, but I I'm sure I'll be on those many groups that people have probably one or two executive directories down the road, but it's helpful for historical knowledge so that they have the public communication person. So yeah, the remember email and for Victoria, Karen asking water at the BPA program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question, Carol. Thank you for that. I sent an update on email to all of you about not only the meeting with Meg Kennedy, but also about the meeting of various folks from the Susquehanna River Basin, Upper Susquehanna, blah, blah, blah. And Ashley Seyfried has been just instrumental in making sure these people connect. I'm hoping that interaction helps them to become more familiar with us and want to help, especially with the tributaries and the ponds. But so far, so good. I think we were sort of invisible to them, I would say. It seems like. So I feel that we have the right people, the right leaders on the call. So that's good. Meg Kennedy, the meeting with Meg Kennedy was fantastic. Meg's a great leader. We brought up the issue of Doug that you had mentioned about the grants per county. And she's going to do a little more investigation of that to understand it a little better. She thinks we have a problem in this county with grant writers in general, regardless of the organization. The other problem is that can the entity take on the work of monitoring the grant, sending reports to the state? Do they have the staff to do that? So there are two, it seems, sort of staffing issues. Jeff, I recall 2 years ago, you and I having a conversation about grant writers, and that was one of our problems. And I think she has confirmed that, but she also was very positive about keeping up the conversation with the board, with her, so that we can continue to look at things. I suggested that we could send out to our mailing list what Soil and Water does for people, that just part of their job, because I wasn't sure that people really understood. So she's great ideas, but that's one thing we're going to do.
Yeah.
She's kind of trying to develop a document that's public, what do I want to say, easy for the public to understand. But I really think we should talk a little bit, brainstorm, especially with your brain, Jeff, about, grant writers and how do we turn that into dollars to invest in not just the watershed, but the county. Any other thoughts from what you read about those meetings or?
I would just add today, board. Possibility, people, vision.
What happened yesterday?
Election.
Yeah. Oh, just
There's a lot of, maybe people. That's what we get into January, to make that aware. And one of the things that usually can work in the county is getting all the reps that are. Which I'll see. That's one of the cuts. And everything we talked about.
Yeah.
Takes some different tones, but we can kind of maybe gauge the loop and the lines ahead of that and request a meeting. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Some people,
All right, perfect.
Can I just put something, I've said this before here, but maybe 3 years ago, I had a webinar that had to do with grants and that support watersheds. And they had 5 people participate in this, 3 of whom had full-time grant writing people on their staffs. 2 of them had 3 people each on their staff. And their success for having money to do projects of all kinds was just overwhelming. And all 3 of them basically said, you can't do this if you don't have a full-time grant writer. But very clear. The other thing I was thinking is that if the county is going to paid for this. One way or one possible aspect that I was thinking was the bed tax that has to do with people coming to spend their vacations and stuff in the county. And that particularly since we're not asking for a grant writer for us, but for the county, that having that diluted by the rest of the other things that could happen, I thought that might be an opportunity for people to imagine what to do with some of that. It's just,
Yeah, I was struck by by Doug's email that he sent out, which was, it was really clear that the number of grants that this county gets compared to others, with all the vagaries of other counties and us being different, was really quite striking, and she saw that as well. So Doug, thanks. It really started a good conversation. Keep those emails coming.
I will also add that there's great opportunity in that. I can tell you, during the key there. The only real grant ability to see for the department is actually written the Bassett. And then that's funded for a lead agency. So like that's
Yeah, begging people,
Begging.
right?
So
Yeah.
that was for me. When I started going up there with grants, sewer plan, industry, the reaction I got was who's done the grants. We've always. So I would say Cooperstown was the lead, but county has been underrepresented. There will be an appetite to say, well, we need to get out having. We take some county leadership, we'll take some other things, state electeds to help us with that, but there's opportunity if we get it together.
One of the key things that we need to do according to the plan. So identify what your project is.
Oh, you don't just go and ask for money?
Yeah, so, and what Bill is working on is.
Yes.
What are the opportunities to
Right.
mitigate nutrient sediment, a dam, a pond, what's the water flow, indicator that other places have, we don't,
Oh, like USGS gauges? Yeah.
USGS gauge, we should have one. Other places that had more expensive, I guess, and big, but there's ways to get that funded. So, those are the things that gotta do. And then identify what monies are available through which, and then you can buy them.
Well, yes, totally. I totally understand. That's some of the conversation with Ashley. Once they, because Bill has been conversing with them as well. So I have the intro meeting. We really need your help with the headwaters of Susquehanna, same speech. And then Bill gets in there and tells them exactly what we know, what we think we need. And they've been really, we'll see. We'll see what happens. They're interested in it. So there's one grant source and they will write the grant. So that's one angle we're working.
What organizations make county?
What?
Make county.
Meg is the on the county board. That's Eco County Board. So soil and water reports to her, sort of thing.
And we're being this thought in regards to resources. We can also identify a lot of things. Bill Warren, and he is interested apparently in offering his expertise. I think in that Scott Big Bomb will talk to him. We have avoided the it was the fish, USDA.
Oh, yeah.
Farm. I sent
Yep.
the response I got is they're out of business until funding.
Yeah, nobody's here. Nobody's home. Yeah.
That's a boy there. Scott Big Bomb, Bill Harmon, Tony Ferrero, who was the fish reports to, but yeah, it was out of business until funding.
Maybe we should get together with some, Bitbom and Harmon and start there.
A lot of them are gonna be at our meeting next Thursday.
Okay, so let's start there. All right, perfect. Is Herman coming to that meeting?
No, I know, I didn't think about it, but. Good, see what he's doing.
I know they have, yeah, Matt.
That's the only one from the VFS.
Bill would be great.
Okay,
And he's at the same email, I guess, yeah.
You're talking, hey.
Yeah, she and Bill are talking too about that property there, so we're getting there. It's a slog, it's like pushing mud uphill.
But I would love to keep doing the funding in the conversation, just because I think that we can do that.
Okay. Okay, all right, absolutely, Amy. Thank you. Anytime, speak up and say, I want to be involved. That's perfect. Jacob, as a result of the WAC meeting, Jacob has spent some time understanding the UFI connection. Let us know what your thoughts are.
Yes, absolutely. So I had a meeting last week, both UFI. And Wendy from Anchor. And I got some updates on their work. UFI has been proceeding right along. Wasn't entirely sure communicating with us, but we've got that worked out now. They have been filing quarterly reports. They've just been keeping them internal. I just got those about 5 minutes ago, so I kind of go a little that. They gave me a little presentation on their work. The model they're using, I think, is quite exceptional. It does fit quite well with our lake. But the important thing now is just to make sure those figures are working well together and that everything is moving along. So I talked to Ilka today, and she's going to start facilitating a meeting, a monthly meeting, specifically with the modelers and may point people to DEC and get that ball rolling and make sure that's all proceeding nicely. It'll be at this point a very modeling specific meeting of making sure that those are.
Could you just back up 1 second and tell us, is this modeling just for the 90 application or is this something more long-term?
Sure, sorry. So yeah, so a big component of the 90 claim is the modeling work that we're paying for with the consultants. And the general concept is that they're elevation and anchor and a watershed specific model. That's sort of looking at how inputs in the watershed might be coming into the lake. And then that is to be linked up, and Yoko could of course can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's because she has a much better modeling background than I do. But then the idea is to integrate that with the lake specific model, which is what UFI is working on for us. And then from that, we can test different sort of DMP scenarios, right? So my general understanding is that often the way it's structured in the 9 element plans is they take sort of a baseline for recent year, sort of look how one sort of existing conditions. Then they also sort of look at climate-based scenarios. That is definitely an important part of our work. There's every reasonable expectation that in your state, lake temperatures are going to continue to increase over time. I think just about anywhere where they're taking long-term data, you see very obvious trends in lake temperature over time. There's also assumptions that precipitation is going to increase. In fact, the transport of nutrients and everything we're concerned about is the lake as well. They sort of look at the generic situation as a control of where we're at now. They'll look at, in all likelihood, they'll look at climate change scenarios in terms of what we might expect in terms of increased transportation to the lake just from climate change. And then they can model sort of different basic concepts. It does sort of still have to fit with what the model can work with, which is largely phosphorus. That's sort of the main point of the model. But they look at sort of, say, I know in one of the plans they looked at what if hypothetically we could assume that we did a perfect job in terms of septic. So how might that affect, transporting the system in that same sort of time frame? How would that relate to climate change impacts? And, anything else that we wanted to sort of look at.
So it's a it's a already set up modeling approach that UFI has, but we can inform the question that they put in. Yes? Okay, and that's what your group is trying to pull together in a way?
So, UFI is doing the lake modeling.
Yep,
And they have figured basically the temperature and water movement part of it. But they're still working on the nutrient and sediment movement part of it. And meanwhile, I don't know how far along Anchor is, because we just had the QAPP, the quality assurance project pro plan
yeah,
approved by DEC.
Yeah.
Last month, I believe.
yeah, that's right.
So, and they are supposed to be looking at the data from the Chesapeake Bay and also locally from the USDA or for the soil and water conservation. And we have the entire Otsego watershed and the three major tributaries separate. So we have been working, and it's been agreements from the get-go with DEC that those three tributaries, although they are part of the hydrological unit C, HUC 12, we are treating those three separately. And that should be clear to everyone, but we might need to make sure that is what Wendy is doing. Liz was clear about that, and that is how UFI is going to integrate the watershed load into the lake.
The lake model,
Yeah.
okay.
So right now, UFI is still working on the lake component. Anchor is working on the watershed component. But towards the end, when we do the scenario analyses that Jake just talked about, like if we do nothing but temperature raises or stuff like that, then we need to incorporate how much is coming in from the watershed into the lake model.
So,
I think it's a really interesting concept that there's no doubt in my mind that there's water that enters the lake through access that we don't, right now, we don't know about.
we don't know about it.
It's either underwater or in the ground. And so if we were really clever, the tributary group would figure out how to only send cold water down.
Yeah.
I think that might be a long shot.
Ice cubes, that's right.
But you really, I don't know how you separate the two of them. I mean, if we knew how much water comes in from underground, it would help with our projections of what's going to happen. I don't know that would help with the outcome, but at least it would add together. It would make sense to know what's going on, because I think the way it is now, it's hard to, and I'd like to see us get gauges on at least the major tributaries, and we could get. I know that my neighbor said we could put one that we could read visually on the right next door.
So is that something we should go to the Community Foundation Lake Fund?
You know, you could nail a yardstick to it almost. I mean, I don't need to a meter,
Yeah.
excuse me, a meter stick to it. But I don't mean to belittle that, because it's a big deal, and to have the information that comes from the one that sends all the information about the rate of water that's going, in addition to the height of it and all that, is just absolutely terrific.
Yeah.
But
They're extrapolating from a data for radar station. And they're making assumptions that the flows and the other things should mirror.
yes,
They meaning UFI?
Yes, UFI, they're doing the water budget. The key things in terms the question about what's going in and what's going out. I assume they're making some assumptions in regards to
they know how much is going out to the water treatment facility and the dam.
Right,
And they know how much is coming in shallow brook, and then they're extrapolating, assuming that measuring the other major tributaries, the delta between what's going out, those is water is coming in through the ground, springs and minor tributaries. So, you know, the water, I think if you talk to UFI about the water budget, there is a consumption in regards to inputs from other sources.
did they mention that to you? The what, doing the water budget and what they were using for that?
Yeah, typically groundwater is not traced because it's so hard and expensive. So typically they do what comes in from major tributaries, and then they have some formula to convert the precipitation into the general runoff from the shore. And groundwater is typically kind of bundled with that other input.
Okay,
Well,
It's just basically like, you're balancing the checkbook, and then you may not be keeping track of, small, packets of gum and stuff like that, but then you think, miscellaneous expenses.
so, so the scientific group and the watershed coordinator are coordinating all of this and making sure that, with the consultants, making sure it's happening. I would just say that if there's any time when there's a concern that something isn't happening fast enough, maybe it's, could even be off track, please bring it forward and we'll be happy to step in and make
And
that.
we should be able to provide more updates on a regular basis.
Okay. Jacob, is it okay if I do some of the other things and then we'll go to sort of your view of septic, where you are right now? Is that okay?
Yes, although, in terms of the grid stuff, so I do apologize, I have not had a chance to prepare that the way that I would like to.
That's
So,
okay.
My plan now is to have gone through, so I just so everyone else is up to speed. But I talked to routine, and my plan is to go through that, sort of the table that you would receive, from Cindy and I about sort of the different sort of regulatory things involved with the, legal reporting we have to do in January. And I'm gonna sort of go through all those bullet points and lay out sort of my thoughts about, who I might be contacting, what we need to do as far as that. My general sort of thoughts is that they're gonna fall into three buckets, right? They're gonna fall into sort of basic things that we're reporting, just in terms of the committee's work, septic inspections, things like that. Other things are gonna be sort of like long-term planning that you all do, like some of it's just straight up public outreach, right? Like we can't go into individuals' home and educate them about, detergent and soap usage and stuff. At their private residence, we're not gonna usually go there to check that, but obviously there's a lot of outreach to educate about things like that. And then there's a lot of things that will be, in a sense, reaching out to different government agencies and making sure that we have a complete picture on what they do. But those range from things that'll be a little bit more intensive in the first year, but it just be sort of a checkup on an annual basis, whether that be, radiation protection, which is largely probably come down Bassett, and just sort of checking in with them on an annual basis, and first year getting an understanding of what we write up for that in the report, or burial in the watershed. So some of it's sort of an initial sort of heavy lift, mildly heavy lift of reaching out and figuring out who I can talk to, getting sort of their update on where the status is that currently in the lake, then making sure an annual basis that I'm verifying that stuff with them. So hopefully in about a week or so, I can have that table updated and I'll send it to you all, and that it's in the agenda we can talk about.
Of course.
That'd be great.
Of course, that'd be great, just to have a picture of it. And then Jacob and I also talked about the sort of, now, I don't mean to speak for you, but Jacob's vision is very clear in terms of the septic component, which is we have to figure out, are we by law doing the right inspections? And what should we expect from people who have different types of units? And what would be the requirements around that, so that it would be a much more I would say, sophisticated approach than everybody does everything this way all the time. So I think it'll be a much better approach. Do you think I can't remember what you said about this. Do you think we'll get some inspections in this
Yes,
year?
that's my plan. And I've been talking to Al. I was originally very concerned because in the database, there's very few contact phone numbers. Very few. And the vast majority of them are for my stocking, and not for the homeowner directly. But Al did have all that information. He gave me a binder of stuff. He then took the binder of stuff, so he's now returned the binder. And I'll be updating the files with that information, or that we need to turn project, at least I have it now, and yes, very much the plan is to see what I can get done, remain season him. Just to sort of lean on his expertise and see what I can do outside of that to educate myself.
And I think Bill, Henry, and Jacob have had some good conversations, which is good.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very good.
He's a good partner. He's
He is,
a
definitely.
supporter.
Yeah.
He knows a lot
Very-
about,
very
about
He does.
that part of the tributary system.
He really knows.
And he's really very willing to share it too.
He could be helpful.
Just to add on that, he gave Bill and I a tour of that whole area, all the tributaries, and it was very, very, very helpful.
He really is. Yep, and he really cares that it be right.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on those sort of topics before we move on?
That's a few team, if you wanted to discuss the interns, definitely you'll go.
Yeah,
Want to jump in,
please,
send out emails about that. So I think there is some interest in proceeding with that, it's just a matter of finding the interns and making sure that's false.
This is
for?
the
Yeah,
database.
sorry, Terry. So, the database, so in last year, I believe they had interns from SUNY on work on taking some physical files and adding that into the database. And, certainly maybe not every aspect of it in the end is perfect, but they really did an exceptional job. Seems like, for students, really quite top level work, so.
They gave a little talk, a presentation at that winter meeting. It was a spring meeting. It was their level of enthusiasm was so much fun to see. And
Yeah.
they're really in it.
At OLA, yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, so this is something that Kyoko and Jacob are working on in terms of getting those interns here. And thank you for the interns from last year.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so I have emailed Lauren Salter, Dr. Salter, who was the direct supervisor of those interns last year. And I haven't heard back from her. One of her concern was that, because there is no pay guarantee. And it seems like an internal internship funding from SUNY Union that is basically like supplementing whatever is preventing the students from comfortably participating in internships. So it would cover things like transportation, food, etc. But the way that students can potentially apply for salary is only if they could prove that, say, I work at the cafeteria so many hours a week. And then because if I take the internship, I'm going to lose this much money. Therefore, please consider supporting me for that amount.
Well, this now could be something we go to the Lake Fund for,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be till February. Right?
Yeah, and then, now is the time that the interns paperwork needs to be done for the next semester. So not hearing back from Lauren, I unfortunately don't think it's going to be feasible from, SUNY Union for the next semester. Unless there's straight up funding from somewhere that guarantees like $20 an hour. And another thing is that it takes 1.5 hours for students to come to Cooperstown if they don't have their own cars. And many students nowadays either don't drive or don't bring cars to campus. And another possibility that I suggested, I think to Bertine and Jake, is to consider just straight up part-time job for the CGP students.
Mhm.
because they are typically living in Cooperstown area. And they're graduate students, I expect some, good quality, and, eagerness to work or side.
So
income.
who would connect with them to see?
That would be Cindy,
That would be Cindy.
yeah.
All right. Do you want me to call her? Or do you want to talk to her, Jake? What?
Sure, I can talk.
Okay,
And
Alright.
they probably would have more flexibility because they can just walk to the village hall if they.
Right, right.
If locally.
okay.
Hmm.
All right, good. Well, the more we get this database correct, the better, the easier it's going to be for us to really make sure we're doing our work. Okay, job description feedback. I didn't hear from anyone the last time I handed it out. I'm assuming it's, at least for now, an okay depiction of what's happening. Styrofoam, Amy,
Yeah,
update on the styrofoam?
yeah, so I reached out to the legislator who is, who is doing the first push on that, the legislation, that the legislation. I got her back directly from their office yet, but, that was one piece, so that it did not go through this year, as, but when we looked at it and went deeper into the law, we found out, that it is something that going ahead and doing the wrapping will be a very good idea. Victoria's been researching some of the costs, for the wrapping and what kind of materials are going to be included in that. And right now, it seems like, it really depends on how this is more production, is supposed to go a little bit better. The people who have docs in the water, how many of they, like 50% take out in the winter? Is it, a lot of people leave up for minute now? Anyone know that approximate number?
Jim, any idea?
No, I don't, I'm just thinking about. My guess is that when people pull them out, their outfits are expensive to purchase. Okay. So it's such a usual. I don't know.
Just
I thought too, but I want to make sure that I was be present.
just for my education, because it's not something I know anything about. What is the complexity around the material, figuring out what the material would cost?
Right, so the complexity is, there are at least 5-6 different ways to do it. Some of them are the dock and, merging it into, so basically building, using like film plastic, so on it, which is going to be really costly. Then, so if you look at some other opportunities where you're doing more of the encasement of the styrofoam, then, the reason I asked about the numbers in and out, because some of these are much less expensive to do than bulk. So that's why I would check it, but I don't have the number right in front of you, and I'll get Victoria in Culver and get those numbers from her before she went out. So,
Okay, let's see if we can't, let's see, Let's- let's see if we can't try and wrap this up in some way at the next meeting. Because, it's the middle of November, so we gotta have some sort of sense of this, either yes or no. So maybe we can try and get something together for the next meeting. Go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just gonna ask Amy, do you know who's knowledgeable about the process of wrapping a styrofoam that's not currently or didn't come wrapped up? Or-
For people, I don't know. As well.
Okay,
I pretty sure to reach out to, if anyone had actually wrapped their dock, but most of the folks I know that I talked to just replaced their dock. But that's what we're trying to figure out, so I know it's technical process, I do apologize, but I will see if I get the numbers together, and if anyone knows anyone who's actually wrapped one.
Okay. Okay, I mean, we do have the OLA list, if we need information, I'm sure Jim will help us figure out how to get it. So we've got some ways of communicating with that group. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, this, and thanks to the bubblers as well as. Side of them. Probably what we should look at is in our. Regulatory part of. Consider what legislative. What restrictions you want the municipalities to put on bubblers. And so.
Yeah,
And so I had a grant that was unprotected start developing us rats. I think they just make that's and there's fragments of don't so you got rid of the rat and put in another rat that actually encapsulated location prices. And it's it's expensive, but it's I think the only way to deal with it is through some sort of regular. All works out on side.
right. So that's one of the.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say that, and quick, that the legislation that Bill Roy talked about, the legislation itself. Is a modification on legislation that was already in process. So it's going to restrict the purchase of styrofoam docks, and it will also require that, by a certain date, I believe it would be on the 7th, but I don't have it in front of me, that people will have to have their docks wrapped. And not have exposed styrofoam anymore.
But the legislation hasn't gone through yet, right?
That's correct, yeah.
You're kind of correct, yeah.
Okay. So I think one of the things that we need to sort of think about now that Carrie has had this opportunity come up is that the regulatory committee needs to think about municipal assessments, and that work has been done with Carrie and EDR. Am I saying the name right? EDR?
Yes.
But we also need to think about what are the regulatory issues that we either want to make sure everyone is looking at, both towns and village, and what are the ones where we don't have a regulation and we need one. So I think there's two tracks to the regulatory committee, municipal assessment and this other track. So I think we'll have to talk. I would like your thoughts about the regulatory committee and how we want to proceed with that. And what the best way is to manage that. So by the next meeting, we'll spend some time on that, and you can inform us on.
Yeah,
Your
I think
thoughts.
we need to make a list as people go along and have these ideas about recommendations for amending or suggesting new regulations for everybody. And I think we should try to not promote some unified specific language because everybody seems to want to do things their own way. I mean, we have a model statement basically that not mandatory. And then when the application is made, and we see what the final recommendations are, we can talk to the consultants and see whether or not it's appropriate for us to include that list in the recommendations or in some other appendix of the application.
Yeah.
But it's really sort of separate from the municipal assessment
Yes.
process, which actually should go along very swimmingly as soon as we get the new forms that from Lisa Nagel.
Right.
So that should be very simplified now compared to what we're faced with.
So there's current rules that different towns have that we might want to make sure everyone adopts. So that's one area. That's going to require finesse with town officials in the village. And then there's new ones that will come from the 9E, informed by the 9E data, et cetera. And then ones that we think specific to our lake we need to take care of. So the regulatory committee, I think, can begin the work on two of those areas while they wait for the municipal assessments to be done. So that might be a path we want to talk about it at the next meeting while Carrie is still with us.
It isn't clear municipalities what they can and cannot legally. My recollection, things were decided, Bill couldn't, so. And I know the village accepted the docks. See, village couldn't say, where you, EC and say, you are not.
My answer is, I'm not sure, and that's a great point. When we, when we have the new forms, which are going to be targeted by EDR, each township and village specifically. We could suggest that, that they reviewed whether or not any of the existing regulations, and they say they have all the existing regulations already. We can ask that question, whether they think that any of those, exceed the authority of the village. That's a very good question.
Yeah, there was an email from Matthew Maraglio of Hawks that says that the municipalities can override
Yeah.
the DEC
Mhm.
regulation, and the 200 feet no-wake zone in Otsego Lake already was made using that stipulation. And he also pointed out that Springfield recently used that to, was it like dock or something? The regulation about,
I don't remember the detail of that. No. But
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Different towns have made different decisions. And here's the key is pulling that together. So that's another thing I want to talk about. Let's spend some time in the regulatory group next meeting and see how we can kickstart one side of it while the other one's developing.
I was just gonna add that I know that both New Hampshire lakes and Maine lakes have laws about this stuff that are at the state level now. But I also this is on the further agenda, but I gave this handout about the talk that was at the Upper Susquehanna Watershed Forum. And these two guys, one from I think they're DEC and the other guy is from the Department of State, gave this talk on what they can do for you, and they'll come and assess the septic systems, assess the water quality of the drinking water that comes out of the lake. They do this all free. And one of the things they do is work with intermunicipal agreements, which I thought might be very helpful for us. And I don't know. I don't think it's appropriate for me to get contact them because I don't know enough about law to make all that work. But
Remember that the memorandum of understanding started on
yes,
3 years ago?
but I know there is a law in New York that says you can establish a lake law
You can.
between the municipalities, but of course you gotta get agreement on it to do that. And that,
Well, that was in Doug's email today. He talked about the fair funding formula. Canandaigua. So that is something that Doug has been working on for over a year. And that's already in place and it's working well, and it's something that we should follow up on to find out if we can massage it in some way to implement it here. And once you talk about the fair funding formula, people will be, I think, in a position to understand why their ordinances around the lake should also be aligned. And I think it's all, component parts of viewing the lake and the municipalities as a community. So I think that's excellent way to approach it.
Hence,
I just sent you email with the contact information from them.
okay, but you sent an email today? I just haven't gotten to it, yeah.
Yeah, good for market. It's Paris one. It's Kevin Mulvaney.
Oh,
Both DEC and POS we asked. Ancient, we looked at, we really wanted more about, they said, not more than 10 day way. The municipal agreement, the way it's structured. Just reminding everybody of the structure so that septic systems are managed by one individual. Watersheds managed by another. They have two separate boards. Septic part is managed by those four municipalities that use water. It's funded by those four. And the lake manager is funded by all of these mountains around. However, fair funding, why not put some major financial burden was these powers reducing the quality.
Right,
So it's and it's been in place since
right,
2000.
right.
Kevin Mulvaney's been in that position since.
Since then, so we need to have Jake get with him, and Bonnie's trying to get the Lake George person to get with Jake as well, because they'll have, and he's called a lake protector, which is fascinating. But it's a watershed protector. Lake protector, Bonnie?
It's a lake protector.
Yeah. So I think those will be invaluable connections, because then Jake can inform the group, so we could even bring those folks on Zoom to whatever you think.
And just as some background, like, Canada Lake is probably fairly similar to us in terms of the municipality, and some very large community. There's a lot there, one end of the lake, and then a lot of very small towns.
Around it.
Municipalities outside of that.
Yep. So I guess one of the questions I have is the connection of the town members at this committee, you know, Gary and Bonnie and Jim is but Jim is really Cooperstown as am I. And what we bring back to them from this committee. Now Pat sat on the LCO board, so she could bring back, you know, whatever was happening. Plus we send the minutes to them. We send as much as we can to the supervisors. Do we, in terms of kicking off a communication effort, how do we want to start that? One idea was to pull the leadership team together. We have, remember, if you look at the grid or the watershed protection plan, there's the leadership team at the top. And that is the supervisors, the mayor, you know, WSC, and some key other team members. It might be interesting to start to think about pulling that team together sooner rather than later. We have to think about that, but also, what is the representatives process for getting back to the town so that they feel that they're involved? Is there a process you use? You
We have, I'm a committee.
Okay, you don't want a committee of one
I'm a committee of one and make a report at every.
to the board meeting, okay, Bonnie?
And I had offered to the Middlefield board to come whenever they wanted to. And I thought we were in part waiting for that we were holding off because the mayor was going to go speak to each town board about the inspection fee and such, and she didn't want us there. Wasn't that of the sense that she wanted to do that?
She wanted, no, that's just.
Solely, she didn't want, she
Yeah.
wanted to go and take care of that issue before we came back with,
Okay,
but
right.
that's what I had said. I was thinking whether it was once a quarter,
yeah,
you know, to come and speak to and share.
did they say?
Well, I think they were waiting to see about the election. Because
Oh, right.
I didn't hear from Dave Carl inviting me back to have a follow-up meeting.
So the other guy won, right? He was running unopposed.
Right.
Right. And Bill, what do you do? You, I mean, you go to the Springfield board and do an update on the watershed supervisor committee, or do they have a system for?
I go to the meetings very regularly and try to give them an update,
Okay.
short thing. That, you know, they're not terribly interested in any of it, to be honest with you. I do make a point of holding up Kyoko's report, you know, all multiple pages and pictures and everything, and so that they know that they're getting their money's worth. But there hasn't been. They seem interested in knowing that they have somebody to communicate with, but there is a lot of back and forth. And Henry talks with them about that stuff all the time.
Well, and I think they put their trust in you to be their rep too.
Yeah.
I mean, if that you're taking care of that, so they
Yeah.
can put it to the side. So one of the things we might talk about at that leadership meeting is the process for getting information to the town boards on what we're doing on a regular basis, so that the relationships can get more robust in the future. So we'll keep talking about that. Jake and I have talked about getting a leadership team together that WSC goes to, so more to follow there.
He said, my opinion, what we talked about Saturday, should have read. That is the rest of the pen board meetings. I didn't do that regularly, but when I was on the agenda. And now keep it in front of them.
Yeah, on the agenda, so that's another way, to- yeah, that's a good idea.
Suggest that. You know, public comment and. You know, offer themselves out, but also try to find out. That, what do municipalities want out of this deal? Maybe the 90 plan, deal with just people they help them. But my. Feeling, but. If someone came to me and said, municipality X really needs your help about drinking water, I would say that I thought. Which is fine. Except there are others, and so say Springfield has. Of course it has economic development in there. Springfield needs something for that healthy life. Is that clear? Does the committee, when we start asking like, what are we missing? What do you want? Springfield, or then. Let's see,
Yeah.
from Cooperstown, then it's a collective. When you go and just report it out. That's very different than saying. Help you represent.
Yes, what do you want us to represent? And the other thing is, I think there's an opportunity here to be, collaborative, cognizant of the past, whatever that brought, and a clear picture about the future, I would say. So I think that there's an opportunity to do that. Okay.
Can I just throw something real quick? Part of what was interesting in the responses to the questionnaire that we put out, was the number of people that said they didn't live on the lake, but they liked to they even like to just look at it, that sort of thing. Because when I'm talking to the Springfield group, I know that there's maybe 100 people or so that care about the lake, and the rest of them couldn't care less.
Mhm.
And they don't even want to spend the time thinking about it because they're farmers, or they're retired farmers, or they have a small business or something else up there, which the lake interest group is very small. I'll bet that's true for Middlefield, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. It's true for the let's see, go.
Well, what was interesting this summer was though that didn't Springfield consider canceling the summer swimming camp or something like that? And there was a big
Yes,
argument on Facebook.
yeah,
And it certainly seems to have involved people who are not directly on the lake. And that was interesting.
you're absolutely right about that. And I think a lot of it they wanted their kids to have the experience, which is their interest, and that is, I've forgotten about that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But they don't go to the meeting, I'll tell you that.
What else is it? Not everyone is interested in everything at the same time. So, you know, if you live on Eagle Street, Cooperstown.
Yeah.
The conditions find what comes.
Yeah.
However, the governing body says our job is to take care of it. So that kind of sense of what is the greater good, you know, naive and idealistic about it, but that was always a driving force. No one has veto power. Try to hear it all, but I do think reaching out is important.
Yeah, and I think the time is right here. I think the timing is, I think timing is critical. It has to be just at the right time. So I think with the questionnaire back, et cetera, it's becoming clearer, I think, that maybe we want to hold that together. Okay, the Lake Friendly Pledge, big thanks to Jim Howard and Stephen Phillips for putting that together and getting approval from the OLA board. Stephen was very, gracious. When I called to say, gee, wouldn't this be great if we could put this out together, the WSC and the OLA? We feel, we're in lockstep around this, and he was very open to that. Bonnie had been speaking to me about, sort of an introductory, message that we can all get behind for many documents. We could use it for this document, we could use it for update to the public meeting, we could use it for all kinds of things. And so she took a stab at writing that and honoring what the OLA had already written. That was sent to you. I'm sorry for the lateness of it today. I've sent it to Stephen Phillips, and Jim received it obviously from our email to sort of get their perspective on it. I think Carrie has a great, some great input into making sure that we are cautious about representing information in that intro in the most respectful way that we can. And so we'll do some work around that with Stephen.
Yes, and I worked primarily from the OLA
Document,
but
yeah.
to expand it to be watershed scale versus
Just the
focused
lake.
entirely on the lake.
Yeah.
So that's what my additions were.
Right, great. So I think that work is ongoing. If you have any input from what we sent you, I know it's late, I don't expect it now, but if you have any additions, or now's the time to do it. If you see something that's missing from the pledge, we could say to OLA, what do you think? Could we add this in? I mean, I think it's a great document, but we should make sure it's not like this is the last time ever, but it's an important time. The pledge could be another step in connecting the towns and the village and making sure we're all on the same page. So more to follow on that, and let us know if there are other things you think should be included in that. And I've thanked Stephen and Jim. Thank you very much for being open to doing a partnership on this. Really, you did a lot of the work. We appreciate you letting us get on that bandwagon.
I got a question. First, I said, that's fine. It was Stephen and Nate Buck too, that cooperated and.
Okay.
But I just have a question, would we, I guess from fun, we're gonna release part of the these 300 newsletter. The deadline was, I think, this week, or, it is this week, I'm pretty sure. So as the OLA members, and there's 350 or 400 people that get that newsletter, that is gonna go out probably late November. So as we grow OLA, that's not to say that, we can't, those guys are great directors. We can do something together also, and nobody's gonna care because it's the right thing, so. But I did want to let you know that, the version those guys worked on is gonna go out, okay, and it's.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought, I was hoping that we could put it out together and we would include the 300.
Yeah, and talk to Steven, because he's on the spot and he's working with me.
Okay,
I have no problem if those, if they didn't add that, that's fine with that, but we definitely wanted to get it out the fall newsletter. So, we may have a week or a few days or so to do that, but that newsletter is gonna go out in late November.
okay. I think if well, I'll talk to Stephen if he's willing to sort of pause for a second, then we can certainly get it done by then.
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
I just wanted to add a comment by Cory. I probably didn't state any. He said he read it and thought it was very good. And he is eager to see the list of practices for.
No, it went out, Florian, to all of WSC. Jim sent it out to all of us probably a month ago. So you should have it. If you don't, please let me know. Maybe we missed you, but please let me know and I'll be happy to send it. Okay. The BMP list keeper, this is just an FYI. When we have the BMPs.
Yes.
It's just.
I think, yeah, Jim, you want to mute Jim a little bit? Turn him down a little, turn him down. I wish I could do that.
If I can, just jump in there.
Yeah, of
So I should reach out to Wendy and I have her list of VMPs. And I also have, largely what I think is everything that, Doug has provided. So we do have a very extensive list at this point of past VMPs and possible VMPs in the future. I have not had a chance to digest it all. I would just point out, I'm sure everybody here is aware, but Doug has quite obviously done a lot of work on this. So, it's a great contribution. Yeah.
You know, usually he's a slacker, so I'm so happy.
Get moving, but
Can't get that guy to do anything. I don't know.
great.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, Florian, state park testing, of the area that, Pat Kennedy had reported.
Yes, I had an email I sent you earlier today.
Oh, okay.
I probably should have sent it earlier.
That's okay.
But I think there, and Florian can jump with it, he has any additional thoughts, but I think there's some concern about how we would facilitate that, because I think you may need to do certified testing that's at the state park, and that might be something that we had to do. But I think short term, what I'm going to do is reach out to the person at the park. And
Oh, good.
I'm also gonna talk to Al and whether we directly end up going to inspect that system. Or simply get a reporting from them on what the status is, what their testing is saying. I don't have that information now, but that would be.
Okay.
There is a state inspecting group that does the motels and stuff like that.
Speedies permits.
Yeah, but William Glass doesn't have speeding.
They're not gonna
No.
be crazy about having us come over there and inspect state
The,
facility.
and remember, the issue was that as a team member of WSC, Pat had reported a smell. And we had reported it to Matt, and Matt, we hadn't heard back from him. That was the issue. I didn't know if Matt had.
And Florian says he's not heard from Matt, how he could forward us about the question, so I'll just reach out directly to State Park and figure out. Who I should contact to make sure that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Dave.
Hopefully I should have an update for you.
I don't want to drop it because if a member has a worry, we need to track it down and we need to take it seriously. So I just don't want to drop it unless we know for sure everything's okay.
Yeah, that outflow that was coming out into the lake. Could they like identify what it is? Cause it could be just stormwater. Or it could be some like overflow from the leach field and it had higher than nutrients than expected in the food testing that I did.
I mean, to your point, it could be something very simple, Jacob. I just don't know, but we should know. If we've asked, we
Yeah.
can get a response. Yeah. Okay, staying with BFS. BFS is doing an update on the plan, the state of the lake, which I'm very excited about. I'm glad they're doing it. I said, you know, if there's anything that we can do to help with that or inform it from all the work we've done, that would be great. And then, of course, we'd send it to the consultant so that they would have that information for the watershed protection plan. But I'm glad you're doing it, Florian. Really thank you and the team for doing that update. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a summary of years of data, and we definitely be in touch with you and the consultants as it becomes ready.
Thank you. Go ahead, Doug.
It's getting down to state park. Matt. Instituted a sampling of bug with the state park leach field. And now they're trying to determine whether or not there was an increase in nutrient input from septic leach field. And the initial the results were there was no measurable difference between the nutrient level prior to septic leach field.
That's why we need to talk to these folks. They can inform.
So then, probably should follow up on that, make sure we're still testing above and below. The other thing that possibly would be MD is to have state park install a subsequent treatment after the septic tank prior to the leach field, which basically removes the phosphorus.
Right.
And that's what the nitrogen.
It's typically phosphorus by dripping alum.
But anyway, it's basically another tank to which all the effluent moves, which is basically wood chips, which.
Yeah, you've talked about this before, yeah.
So it would be significant. Belt suspended in a huge leach field, which should be this, but it would just be another step for it. It would probably be something that would fund it through the home.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing of getting those things into the plan, and we tend to bring them here and then get them to the consultants, and as we get more sophisticated with Jake's knowledge, we may be able to channel some thoughts to him for him to get to them.
Bertine, if I may, that brings up a great,
Yeah,
because as I thought through the 90 process, when I talked to the consultant and understood the purpose of the recommendations at the end of the 90 plan were to give us a basis for requesting grants. And each town, each municipality, village, and the others, all should be during this process trying to do what we were just talking about, and that is identify specific things for their town. And that also gives everybody skin in the game, so to speak.
yeah,
That I'd say go for Springfield, Middlefield would want to have in a specific separate recommendation.
Mhm.
Now, the towns don't have the expertise that we need to do that. And one of the most valuable things we could do and to present the towns with something that would help them, that might not concern the village specifically, would be to have one of these consultants go and take a look at what it is that's impacting the watershed in each of the towns that we could focus on and bring into the recommendations so that they would be prepared to apply for grants.
Mhm.
And that would be a great way for us to go to the town and say, how can we make this process valuable to you? Different than the village, different than the other towns.
Yeah. And I would just add again, and what of those things should we have everyone adopt?
Well, that's.
Or adapt. Yeah,
That's right, but that would get everybody in the mood.
yeah. Well, I mean, we could do that at this leadership meeting. I'm imagining is say, this is, we would like you to tell us what kinds.
They don't know.
I know.
We have to
Right.
find, we have to provide.
I mean, Springfield knows. I think the other two, maybe not so much. So we'll, that's a great idea.
The one topic though that I see that is all of them has to do with the activity of in and out of the lake, particularly boat launches
Yeah.
and boat travel and that kind of thing, because there are people that live on the lake from Middlefield and all the way around. And I think that would be one focus. I'm sure there's things that don't enter my field, but
Well, I think of ditching.
ditching, no, that's a good.
Yeah, top of the list, yeah.
Ditching is top of the list.
Yeah.
It's like the most expensive thing in the budget, down about say, with the road budget, the highway budget. And if we could, help them analyze whatever their ditching
It isn't free built.
formula is.
Yeah.
And provide some expertise so that the recommendations that we ultimately put in the application
It
will
would be,
give them standing to look for grants. That's
and it would be meaningful to
That's
them.
good. You're
Yeah.
very good, you're right.
Yeah, so with a 9-element plan, when you do apply for the state grant, we should be higher rated than other applicants. And also, what I hear over and over is that the equipment is old and breaking down. If we could come up with a better ditching and winter salting or other sanding mechanisms, and if it requires a new piece of equipment that could be requested So, and then what people do not, like, better culvert or, cleaning of the, water areas, etc.
The Lake George Commission has on their website.
right, they've done a lot with that.
They've done a lot with ditching, it's all there, and, Jacob, you should look at that, and we should probably adopt that as something that we can compare to what we do now in each municipality, and what we need to do for each municipality to upgrade to meet that Lake George ditching skill.
And what the state of the art equipment is as well.
Exactly.
It also requires the coordination of the state and the county in addition to that governmental area in to pull in all the other ones, because those guys are out there flying their own anyway. And the ditching would be a really good thing to start.
Most counties in New York, according to Dan Wick, have adopted the Lake George ditching protocol.
I'm sure.
And Sago has not.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the ongoing challenge, that there are push for more sustainable methods from Albany and somewhere else, but there are, resistance to changing the status quo and also the shortage of local resources.
Right.
The grants could help. And Lake George has like salt summit every winter.
Yes.
And
And then this fall.
yeah.
That's already happened.
And that's where they actually demo the equipment, and the benefit of those is that the people who come from other, towns and, county highway department get to actually see the equipment and try it and hear from the people who are doing the job in Lake George, because there's only so much I can tell with a researcher how to reduce salt, but they need to hear from their counterpart.
That's what another Amy, he said she would be more than willing to facilitate that work as part of my new venture. Do you have any further comment, maybe?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were volumes that they hear.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we will be focusing on is to collect information and do this collaborative interactivity and facilitate those and some of the folks in the network that I have now can absolutely, especially with people that are on the table, with looking at the aspect elements. So I would love to talk about that. I think that will a lot into. Yeah, sorry. I got 15 minutes, so.
Amy, we're sure you could, but could you be a little more specific so we understand where you want to take it?
So, good venture, which is called the Community Capacity Initiative. We are looking to build capacity for undergraduate municipalities, nonprofits, and small and community groups. Part of that will be collecting information, finding strategic partnerships, and also looking at collaborative opportunities for them to go after funding together. So, as you all know, you've all been part of this. We've talked about this even with the WRC. Looking at a single entity who can do the administration, who can do certain aspects that of the grant writing, of the grant project connections, so actually figuring out what projects will be and how to talk about those projects well, kind of put those things out there, as well as looking at community needs and that we bolster. So that is part of what our organization will do. And I'm willing to at least get things going, start the process, get all of the materials together on how we go about this, be able to go out to these colleagues around the way to use it kind of as a, to get things going. But talk to everybody who's part of the WFB, including those who are not, so maybe even if try to be talked to categories, but we have us do an evaluation and see what they would be willing, what they are interested in. It's part of it, not just me giving information back to them, but trying to be able to put together this overlapping opportunities where things might be similar, so that they can go after collaborative funding with that, as well as bigger picture items. So that's the type of work that we're doing.
And Amy, you know, I think you know us pretty well. I think if you see something here that would be applicable to the work that you're doing. Do it.
I 100% see exactly, this is part of the inspiration for take this project on and to follow with this new venture was the work that was happening here at the WSC. And how, as a group, we've been able to forward content that not usually very, move forward on. And so, and how bringing a couple of different partners that maybe weren't part of the original WSP, like Biological Facilitation or myself, to the table, made a difference for. And so that was actually the inspiration for the adventure. And we call it adventure, on and try to do that for not folks conservation involved in the water world, but obviously I can have some skills in the conservation. So I would absolutely love to share with you guys.
Right.
The whole thing.
So I guess what I was trying to say, Amy, is you know us well enough. If you see something here and what you hear that you think would make sense, you know, send us a proposal.
Absolutely. I'll put that together for you guys.
Okay, let's just get back to the agenda. Sorry.
Just acronyms, which we have moved
Yeah,
past.
that's the next thing. No, I have
That's the next thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I was just going to
Go
say,
ahead.
I was the one who suggested a list because I'm the rookie member of the committee. And it was to assist me and also anyone on our advisory group and also to be appended to the 9E plan. And I think I'm waiting for a list from Amy. I just want to be clear. Since I don't know the organizations and the acronyms.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you, Amy, to share that list to us. And then I think we're just passing it on to our communications.
That's
and
right,
outreach
that's right.
committee.
Amy, do you have a sense of when we can get that to her? I'm sorry?
That she's holding it right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm holding it right now.
Great.
Yeah, I'm holding it right now. We'll drive it and we'll share the link to everybody, while we're still chatting.
Well, no, we don't need you to share the link. Just send it to Bonnie and Bonnie's we'll create some sort of a assessment around it, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So all of this other stuff below here, we've talked about, though that wasn't actually on the agenda for the thing we were talking about, but we have done septic, the 9E committees, we've done the land trust work that I told you about. Bill is working with May Leinhardt. The Ashley meeting, the Kyoko, any update on the drone or just,
We are meeting this Friday.
okay. And anything about the scientific advisory report that anyone had? Kyoko send it to us. Any questions?
I wanted to point out that there are some local meetings that happen and Bill provided the summary from the Susquehanna one, and I don't know if anyone went to the Western New York Nice Forum. That one had some relevant presentations on zebra mussels and HAB and also like regulations.
Florian, did anybody from VFS go to that one?
Western New York Nice Forum in Bristol, New York.
Okay. All right, thank you. We, in the future, I'm sure.
I had wanted to go, but I had a.
That's fine.
And then there are a few on-site, the septic trainings programs, online and in person. And last but not least, the Introduction to Lakes Online by Michigan State University Extension. That's an online course, which was really good idea.
Okay.
$140 and 6 weeks starting in January.
All right, perfect. The only thing, the laws of the responsibility of towns surrounding drinking water source, Bonnie's beginning to sort of take a look at whether or not there's something we can use on that.
I'm trying to find someone within state and local government who can be a specific resource on that. And I will check with Pat because that was her area when she was teaching and her involvement afterward. Or if Carrie, for the next couple of months is going to do anything on that, that's.
What is it?
I'm somewhat thorough.
What is it that you want to do?
So this is something I asked Bonnie to do. I believe, I don't know this for sure, but Doug may know, that there are responsibilities of people who live around a drinking water source. So this idea of, it's drinking water for the village, so, what would be the need for us to be involved might be answered by information connected to that. I
think
believe,
it's all New York State Department of Health, regulations.
yeah,
That regulate everything to do with public water works and source of the water.
and I just didn't know if in there, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
In there, there's something about the responsibility of people who live on or near a water source, and there may be, I just don't know. So we're just trying to find
Yeah,
out
sure.
more about that, yeah.
But I mean,
Flooring the lake water level, I know you've been working with Stephen Phillips and others around this. Does that work continue? And please speak up.
We have an effort underway to develop a kind of a new technology of sensing the lake level and getting that, put on website. That we're working on that presently, and getting a receiver put on the field station in a few days. And that's not so much what Steve Phillips, he's been in touch with Pat, but that's really internal to the city.
Okay. So this receiver on the BFS field station will be able to do what?
Ultimately, we should have lake level readout on our website. That's the goal. And, given that it's new technology, I hate to promise a timeline on that. It's something that's a work in progress.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you. And ways in which we can affect the lake level, will that be part of the 90 or the modeling or any of that? Will that be in that work? If there are ways.
That's really, the village does that.
Yeah, it's the dam structure that affects the lake level other than us somehow controlling the precipitation, which is not part of this. So
I thought we could.
My group is working.
the rain dance.
Yeah, I guess I might.
It's good timing that we have no water as the 90 plan is being made, because it forces us to consider these possibilities in the
Correct.
future.
Correct. So I hope that that's part of what we model so that we can understand. Now, I understand we can't affect whether it rains or not. But I think there might be some other things that could be helpful, but I wouldn't have any idea what they are. So I just don't want us to forget about that. Boat regulations. Bill sent us something about boat regulations and Carrie and Bonnie ran with it. Bonnie wrote the letter to our representatives. I took it to the village, to Joe and Ellen and Cindy. And they recommended, as I wrote, that we wait until we know what the whole ask might be. There might be more than what we're putting in that letter. Maybe we should wait for the whole ask. Thoughts?
That's good to know, because I think the town of Springfield, has a home rule, which includes a good part of the lake, pretty much the lake down to
Right.
Sunken Island. And so if I had some just info about what the timeline of that sort of thing might be, would be helpful for me to just make sure that we get it all coordinated.
Well, Bill, just to follow up on that, I think the whole idea of this, us intermunicipal relationships, the whole idea of home rule is something that great for us to have much better insight into in terms of affecting lake management. Because I think, honestly, the septic fee brought that up, but I think 100 other ways. Having that information available transparently to the village and all the town puts us in a situation where we're all nobody's in the dark and everybody understands what everybody else's responsibilities and obligations are, where they can sit down and say, okay, what can we do together? Because we all have our own, prerogative.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just.
I will try to dig something out before.
Okay, thank you.
When, my experience in the middle field said that when we were asking for support, those position and funding of the sample process. And the question that they would ask is, what are the other municipalities like that?
Yeah.
So having a collaboration, cooperation, and quantity, even though each municipality has one role, they want to synchronize.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It boggles my mind that any municipality can say, I have jurisdiction over the link at this point. So why doesn't all four municipalities say this is as early as after World War II, say, this is my part of the lake, as if it's not all one.
They probably could.
Right, so I mean,
Because, for instance, the village doesn't ask the town of Otsego or Middlefield about the waterfront. Right?
right, as a, but
So why is that?
the equivalent, well, I don't know. But
Home
the
rule.
equivalent that,
Home rule, because the
The
village
village
has
has lead-
governance responsibility, for a certain part of the waterfront that abuts the village.
It's not all of it, though. There's a center part of it that the state maintains its control over, but it is still a very generous part of the lake, particularly the parts that are shallow, that have, marshy areas mixed in with them.
But
Both ends, though,
But Springfield's the only municipality that applied for home rule.
as far as I know.
We'll hope that Canandaigua is tackled. It's just
Yeah.
with their surrounding community. And that's right, how they deal with it.
That's why we have to connect with folks who've already done this, read those plans that Doug has sent us and really,
I just wanted to add quickly, I think it was Bill that sent out, article about the Lake.
Yeah.
That if you look at the picture at the top of that, that's sort of points to me like how we need to try to educate, but across the watershed. We're not really talking about just where we're at now, we're talking about general assumptions about where things are going in the future.
correct,
And that's our possible future right there.
right,
Brandon, things that you might not think are in effect now, but will obviously affect everything. Property values, to people accessing drinking water here and throughout the watershed. So there's definitely a lot of things that people may not know that they have as long-term interests, but are applicable to everything.
right. If we had to close the lake down, that would
And
affect
and
the
as far
towns.
as, it's like 7, 8, 9 of the 90 plan is. You start planning for that, and then how are you gonna follow up? Is that tail end of it?
Right.
Or-
Okay,
Sorry.
Doug, you had tried to get a FICBOM study, did
I
you
should,
get
but
it?
I don't.
Scott FICBOM study, will we be able to get that?
Just going through that because
Jacob, can you share that with WSC?
They've written
I would
a
like to
thing
look
about-
at it, read it.
I can find out, I'll find out.
Yes.
Send it to-
Okay.
Just what let's say,
Because they outlawed big wind farms.
Yeah, but yes, absolutely some.
I would like to look at it, just to educate myself.
Okay.
And for Team there's an example of another EMP opportunity. My recollection, they was that there were three separate wetland restoration projects that were funded. This is I think was reported on. They all are in the northern end of the lake. They all are the tributaries. Then what was done in brief was the farms were restored. So what typically we have done, we as people drain wetlands so that you don't have what isn't in the use of the farming or whatever.
right,
These three projects restored the berms, which, block the water and created the wetland. And the whole intent was to have filtering of the water flowing through the wetlands opposed to running off into the dirt. And bottom line is that the length of time that it takes to assess the effectiveness of wetland restoration is far longer than the funding and for the
Yeah.
project. But here we are 15, 20 years later, so it's a perfect opportunity, assuming that they're still in place, take a look at those wetland restorations and assess effectiveness. And so they're I would think would be free funding opportunity, funding opportunity
or,
to do that.
yeah,
And then subsequently to, if they were effective, to look at more of the same wetland restorations.
yep. Okay, I have drinking water protection project. Is that you wrote to the PhD that you met at the conference, right, about their protection plan? Yes?
Where
Did you
where
write
are we
it?
here?
Oh, we're on, who knows? We're on the second page, we're on the back page.
Yeah,
Yeah, remember that doctor you wrote to? For
Yeah.
the conference? You haven't heard back.
no, I never got anything back from him, but I have to get the rest of the stuff from Amy. I meant to write to her and ask her for the slides, so
Okay,
I'll do that.
all right,
Because it's a very interesting concept about allowing the water to flow where it really
Yeah.
is going to flow anyway. And and a lot of this came from farmers who would have gotten a piece of land where the brook initially ran through it. And because they wanted to have the brook. But then once they got farm equipment, they didn't want to drive it across the brook. So what they did is they moved the brook. They just filled in the land and dug a ditch. And this happened a lot in eastern United States. And I mean, really a lot. And so you've got a lot of these relatively small tributaries who are still trying to sort of find their way back to what their Mother Nature had, which is the rock underneath it that keeps that going where it wants to go. And the trick is to be able to understand that and to allow it to do what it needs to do. And then it doesn't tear up all that stuff in the process of trying to get where it wants to go. It's a really interesting thing. I'll get the slides and get them around.
okay, the letter from Joseph Hamburger that copied the WSC, do we feel, I sent it to all of you, do you have a sense of whether we should get back to this human? And with thoughts that we have, or
Is this Joel Hamburger on the Land Trust?
Mhm.
Okay, I think Joel.
Oh, is it Joel?
Joel,
Okay.
yeah.
Members?
Yep.
Thoughts? Leave it alone? For now, or let me know,
Yeah, let us know. Joel's very connected with all of the fish and game clubs throughout the county too, so he could be
okay,
helpful to us.
all right. Two sort of basic operational issues, as Jacob wrote to you, if we have things we want to get from the consultants, we'll email Jacob and Jacob will consolidate all of them and get them to the consultants. What I've said to Jacob, if I feel, or if I believe something is time sensitive, I'll say so.
Yes.
But otherwise, we'll funnel it through Jake. And then, do you want to talk about the Teams account? Because I think that all of us went, okay.
Yeah, I understand. It's gonna take me a little while to set it up, just because I'm sort of modeling it out, what Amy is doing for the SEC stuff. But I'll make sure I have a good game plan and everything, right? I'll get to that, but the point generally would just be to consolidate our communications and just provide hopefully a way easier than sort of the Google Docs version, or the Google Drive version of having all of our information consolidated from the topics of the, so more to come on that, but yes, I will not bring it to you until I feel it's ready. to come.
Okay, and Bonnie continues to work on that meeting with the Lake George person. Is there anything that we didn't talk about or didn't get said?
I got a question. So I communicated with this guy and they're offering to come and evaluate our lake and watershed and things that they can do, well, they work for I think it's the DEC and the state. And look at, private septic system maintenance, critical environmental areas, intermunicipal agreements, which I thought could be useful. Overlay, I guess the road salt application reduction, which I think be really good to have, and grant writing and assistance. And they will do all of this for free. This
Then yes. All in favor?
okay, so can I?
Yes.
All right, okay,
Yeah,
I'll
Yes,
get back to.
say yes.
Unanimous.
Okay,
So who is the group so I can get it in the minutes?
well, the guy's name, it is on this, I've got. They're Tyler Monaco.
Oh,
He's the guy, the one who's from the Department of State, I think is, sort of overseeing the whole thing, and I don't think he's doing as much of the active work, but they were very anxious to do something for us. I think they're looking for work, to be honest with you, and
Good.
and
Tell him to
if
write it.
they're welcome to come, then I'll,
Have them come tomorrow.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
yeah, I'm up tonight.
I'm sure they'll have, they sound like they know how to get there without causing more trouble, which
That
would
would
be
be
a
great.
welcome concept.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I worked in civil engineering, and what happens often is that civil engineers are talking about like most effective things now. And then over the course of the decades, actually, that is actually not a good place to put concrete structure, because that is where water naturally tries to erode and those kind of things. So yes, I think it would be a good asset to compare what the engineers, like traditional engineers, have proposed and what this person is going to propose.
Well, particularly since that one guy is from the Department of State and the 9E grant goes to the Department of State. I thought it was good to
Yes.
hear what
So-
they have to say.
Good to have them.
Bill, ask them if they'll, send you an email about what they will do, and then Kyoko and Jacob can
Right.
look at it. WSC can
Okay.
look at it, but it's better that they
Okay.
look at it. And tell us, how that makes sense, or do you want to add or subtract, or we may have enough information on some of the things they want to do, but we may not.
Good.
All right, so anything that didn't get said, anything that you have to talk about? Wow, this was a long one, sorry.
Routine, I think it was when you speak to say about the shared or partnered statement, you might ask them if OLA would consider funding the yard signs that they put in.
Yeah.
That introduction.
Yeah.
And the magnet.
Oh, yeah, Bonnie has a great idea of, if you sign the pledge, OLA has already said we'll give you a lawn sign. Bonnie has suggested that maybe we want to do, just a little magnet for their fridge or whatever,
Their
tchotchkes.
boat or their
People love,
car.
I mean, I love tchotchkes, so I'm sure. So I'll talk to Stephen about that and Jim about that. All right, thank you, everyone who's online. Was it just Florian and Amy?
And Amy, Jim.
Was Pat on?
No.
Okay. Hey, do you, yeah, 1 second.
Hi, all.
Thank you, Jacob.
The microphone kind of works, obviously, I think having it to the forest with microphones might have caused some issues, so I'll try to work on it. Thank you.
Always have to work.
Thank you.
Such an honest. It's called,
Yeah.
Back for-
Yeah, nice.
So.